So, hey, we're here at the Perks and News studio, and I am now here with Molly and Tito of the new Rize Church that is starting. Welcome, you guys.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, so just to start off, what's your story? I mean, how'd you get into making this church?
Holy smokes, that's a big question. Well, we've been in ministry, as you know, with our experience with you for many, many years. And in the past couple years, we have been training up church starters. And so the statistics are pretty staggering for people that start new churches, how many more people they reach, as opposed to churches that have been around for a long time. So it turns out churches often have a lifespan. And so when we look at the statistics for new churches, they go really great. And so we've been training up and coaching up church starters themselves for the last couple of years. And then all of a sudden this last year, we kind of had a weird stirring in our hearts, I would say. And as we began to figure it out, we were challenged by some friends and asked some pretty significant questions. And so the first question was at a one-day conference in Detroit, and the question was, what is your God-sized dream? And what I realized,
That really wrecked you.
What I realized is I did not have a God-sized dream. In fact, I did not have a dream. A lot of my life, I realized kind of later that week as I was kind of asking God, man, why don't I have a dream? What's going on? And I realized that most of my life I've spent surviving, not dreaming. And so only in the last few years have we been able to kind of settle in and really feel like we love what we do and where we do it and how we do it. And we just think that maybe God was kind of pushing us to the next thing. And then as we started asking each other, you know, what is your dream? What's my dream? We realized that our dream was to do ministry together. We've been doing it side by side.
Yeah, we've done ministry side by side. He does his thing, I do mine. We, talk to each other about it. But as for doing ministry together, that was something I was like, I really want to do that. I really want to do this thing together, whatever that looks like.
And so we kind of went to get some coaching and some counseling from some people that would know us, love us. And the other question that was posed that really wrecked us is, if money was no object, would you plant a church? And I was like, man, I guess if money was no object, sure, I'd plant a church. But then I realized, wow, I've never said yes to planting a church. We've kind of always been on the side of,
no, we're good.
We're good. We don't want to plant a church. We'll help others plant churches.
And why was that? Was it just the financial side, or was it kind of you didn't feel called to that? Or?
Yeah,
I don't think we ever even put it on our radar. We've seen churches, when we sit with people that want to come into Detroit area and start churches, they know what they're doing. They're like, oh, and this is going to be our plan, and this is it.
We've never felt that way.
We've never done that. We've always just been like, yeah, you should probably go do that. So for us, I think literally this is a full act of obedience. Like, it's just is. It's not something even in our heads. We talk all the time and say, we have no clue what we're doing. We have no clue. We're just trusting the Lord in all of it.
And really, to answer your question even more would be, it wasn't on our radar, but also I think that fear was a big factor for us.
Huge.
And I think that this has been a season that we feel like we're supposed to punch fear in the face and replace fear with faith.
Oh my gosh, that's that's strong. I understand that. Even starting this for me, it was scary. I didn't know exactly what I was doing. I don't know everything about media, podcasts, video, but I took that step. And once things started lining up, and I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, we call it putting our yes on the table. We realized when we put our yes on the table, we said, okay, God, we surrender our time, talent, abilities, our plans even. Then all of a sudden, God opened all of this stuff up and continues to do it. We've even seen that several times, even last week, which was, kind of blown our minds how big God is. And so, yeah, I think...
What was last week?
Yeah.
all the things. We have a very short runway, which is not normal for starting churches. Usually you have about a year, 2 years to
Right.
like get
Lots of
all these
planning.
things,
Yeah.
all these plans. And really, we've been in this process for about 8 months now. And
we're getting ready to launch, so it's a
Yeah.
really, really short runway, and we've had some anonymous donors financially give to us. We started GoFundMe. We're
for
calling
sure.
it GoFundRize, essentially.
Yeah.
And so, and we've had an anonymous donor step up and say, I'll commit to matching up to the first $20,000. So one individual would say,
Yeah.
if you can raise up to $20,000, then I'll match up to $20,000 and
And
make it
that
40.
challenges others who see
Oh,
that.
Exactly.
Like, dude, we could really help them out, even little by little. Everything
Yeah.
counts. If we reach, together 20,000, they'll get another.
yeah,
That's
it was
crazy.
huge. It
That's
was
true.
awesome.
And
Yeah.
we've had-
Instead of just giving you 20,000.
Yes.
Yeah, and just saying, okay, there you go, because it really has challenged our entire community and
Right.
even our community's community.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that was one of the last few weeks. Tons of things have been happening. We've had some staff members come onto the team that have been willing to leave what they're doing to make a fraction of the amount because they feel like God's calling them to help,
And
love, and care for people in Ann Arbor.
That's really hard.
Yeah.
That's really hard.
Yeah.
I mean, faith-wise, when you start something new, it really can shake you.
Yeah.
It's
Yes.
but also,
Yeah.
that practical, money.
Yeah, it is. I think it's the biggest thing we worship, and you don't really think about it until you're like, okay, God, am I doing this? How is this going to financially make sense? How is all this going to come together? And when God just puts it on your heart, and we're saying our yes, and we're putting our yes on the table to do it. I was talking to our youngest. We have 4 kids, and our youngest is 16, and I said to her, Dad and I are asking, are we fearless or are we foolish? And I said, we feel really foolish most of the time because we're planners in that aspect. And she said, Mom, you're learning the difference between childish and childlike. She said, childish is when you're doing this on your own, you're not trusting the Lord in it. And childlike is when you go, okay, God, I want to take your hand and I want you to lead me. And you take me where you want me to go. And so we are trusting the Lord and being childlike in this, having childlike faith to go, okay, God, what do you want to do?
Because, for those who don't know, kind of like that term, childlike, literally, like a kid, you believe everything.
Yeah.
And you just go for it.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Oh, this does this? Let me go try that.
Yeah.
Without being scared.
Yeah.
And just going to do it. And I think should be everything's, when people get their dreams and, and people who believe in the Lord. We all should strive to be childlike.
Striving is a good word, though, because I don't know that we ever arrive at that thought, right?
There's so many roadblocks that come into
That's
that.
true. Experience or
Yeah.
hurts or just general fears and insecurities. Yeah. For sure.
Man, so about Rize, I just, scrolling on social media, seeing you guys are up to, I'm seeing donuts, and you guys are at Wilma's in Ann Arbor getting coffee, hanging out, and I'm like, what's going on? I think to the outside world, maybe people wouldn't even think that's a church. They just think maybe it's a group that's hanging out. And kind of what's your goal with that? I know is a meeting party for a planning party.
Yeah, we've had a couple of we call them launch parties. They're kind of vision informational nights. So we did a couple of those. We had about 100-ish people show up to each one of those two, and each 100 were a totally different group of people. And so we have found an actual location for where we'll be meeting on Sundays, and that's Tappan Middle School.
That's funny, because I know I told you, I was just filming a presentation there.
Really? Oh, that's cool.
They have some space there. That's going to be nice for you guys.
Yeah, we're really excited. Location's great. We kind of set an ideal of where we wanted to be, and that was, we kind of drew a line in the middle of the city and said from the middle to the west. To the east. And so we said from the middle to the east, God, could you present a place for us? And as in Ann Arbor, that's not easy.
Yeah.
And so God made a way several times to open up this door, and so we're really excited to be in that location. So the informational meetings went really well. Location's going really well, and we have our official preview services, what we're calling our preview services, where we're basically doing our own run-throughs just to see how we can set up and tear down, but also inviting anybody that wants to come check it out to come check it out and see what it is. So we've got that in January and February, and then our official hard launch where we open the doors up every Sunday from that week on is March 1st, Sunday, March 1st.
Yeah.
That's quick.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Jeez. And, man, and what was kind of your, going into that thought of those launch parties, what was your, because advertising like donuts, is that community or just trying to get people really excited?
I think for us, hospitality is huge for us.
Mm-hmm.
If you come to my home, it's open. You're going to have food. You're going to have, a coffee in your hand and just relax. And I think there's a reason we have dinners together and have breakfasts and things like that together, because it breaks down walls.
Mm-hmm.
And for us, with the donuts, we did Dom's Donuts because
They're local.
it's local.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
I'm like, they got some really great donuts. So we did that just to, we want to reach people in Ypsi and we want to reach people in Ann Arbor. That's where our heart is for. And so we thought, what better way to do that than Dom's? So we had that and great coffee from Wilma's.
Unbelievable, like the location and actually one of the owners there is actually a part of the Rize team, and he leads out in hospitality, director for us, and so gracious enough to give us the opportunity to do it 2 times there. And so that was just the venue's unbelievable. If you've never been to Wilma's,
go to
Wilma's Cafe. It's unbelievable. Yes, the coffee, the food, everything, and then their hospitality is bar none. And so we were really blessed with that opportunity. But I think what we were trying to do is just create environments where people who either have no idea what church is, or people who don't go to church because they've been to church before and they're not feeling it, right? Either they were judged or they were hurt. We call that de-church or post-church in that sense. And so we want to create a space, an environment where people can feel welcome, loved, and accepted first before they would ever be asked to change. And then we just believe that God is awesome, that Jesus loves them, as we see in Scripture. And if we can just share that, if we can just share the truth about who Jesus is, not what the world says Jesus is, but who Jesus actually is, that we believe that community will grow out of that. And out of that community, love and acceptance and kindness and truth that changes. Then the truth changes us eventually.
Yeah, definitely.
But we hope to accomplish that. And then, of course, inform everybody about the vision and mission of Rize.
Yeah, guys. And I also want to touch on, there's so many churches in Ann Arbor. You have big churches like 242 in this whole area. You have smaller churches that are super local. As you said, there's many churches. So what's kind of, you can be like other churches, but kind of what's that niche for you guys? Being a new church, the new kid on the block.
That's I love that question. First of all, I think what's tricky to someone who maybe even a Christian but a non-Christian, they might even think the same thing. Like, aren't there kind of enough churches in this area, or what makes one church different than the other? The first thing I would say is, we have this idea that there's all these different kinds of churches, but I think that Scripture teaches us there's one church. Like, we're all Christians. If you identify as a Christ follower, then we're all part of the same church. But you're right. There's a little bit of different flavor that reaches different people.
Even just location as well.
Practical. Practical, right? Yeah. And so I would say, so we're a fan of many of those churches you talked about, 242 or even Grace or North Rock. There's a bunch of churches.
Knox.
So we love a lot of the churches in the area.
We have great friends there.
But our distinct niche, I think, will be at least a church tends to take on who the leaders are and what they do. And so I think for us it will be a big push toward hospitality and like a welcoming environment, but also a church that not only talks about who Jesus was, but we want to be a church that does the things that Jesus did. And so we want to be a church of action. We have recognized in our ministry years that many young adults are running away from the church, and which is weird and confusing, because why is the most action and cause-led generation leaving what should be the most action and cause-led organization, which is the church? And I think oftentimes it's because what we talk about on Sundays is not necessarily what we end up doing throughout the week. And so we have an initiative called Rize Cares, and all that initiative is that we want to care for the community. Compassion is feeling something, but caring is the doing of that. And so we want to, but we know that, especially like you said, we're a new work.
Right.
We can't do everything. So we've kind of had a saying.
Yeah, we can't be a flashlight, but we want to be a laser. And so we have two places we are focusing that laser on, and one is the recovery community. Ann Arbor has one of the largest recovery communities in the nation. People move here from all over to be a part of this community. Yes, the farm, different places. We have friends that are in recovery, and we're so proud of them.
I'm in recovery myself, and for addictions in my past, and so that is a close place at our heart. And then what's the second?
And the other area is foster care. We've always taken in kids, not necessarily formally in foster care.
I would say we didn't even know it, but we're kind of taking in these. We didn't understand the statistics of foster care and what the quote aging out of foster care looks like. But there's some pretty staggering statistics. We just were taking in people naturally. We say we have 4 kids, 3 biological, 1 we took in who was living out of his car in high school. But since then, we've had over the last 15 years, 15, 20 people to live in our home, and that we've cared for them, but more aged out of a situation where they didn't have a family anymore, or their family situation was a little weird. And so right now, as of last year, 20% of kids that age out of the foster care system become instantly homeless.
At 18,
Instantly homeless. As soon as they turn 18, less than 3% have a chance to go to college. And the statistic says that over 70% of them end up going into some sort of human trafficking. That's staggering. And so we really want to do a push not only to recovery community, but also to those that are aging out of foster care. And one of the things that we're going to do, remember I told you we're going to be a church that does, is we started not only Rize Church, but at the same time, we're starting Rize Coffee. And so it's a coffee camper that we're going to park outside of the church, but also at festivals and all over the city.
Tailgates.
Yep, and it's a non-religious nonprofit, and here's what we're going to do. We're going to give most of the proceeds that go to that cart. It's a nonprofit, so we're going to give the money away back into foster care. But because foster care kids don't have a lot of skill sets when they come out, we're going to create a paid internship program for them to actually work the cart so that they can learn how to become baristas and even run a business.
Because, that can lead into, like, even Starbucks, obviously it's a job, but Starbucks offers free college.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and they offer benefits for even part-time employees.
Yeah, free online college through, I think, ASU, Arizona.
Wow, okay.
Yeah,
all right.
I just have friends who work there.
That's awesome.
And that's the only reason they work there, because it's not a bad job. Obviously it gets busy, it can be hectic.
Yeah.
But that's incredible, especially as you know how expensive college
College
gets.
Yeah.
And even just being able to run a small business or understanding the responsibilities that come along with work. And so we're going to begin to train up and coach up and hopefully send out foster care or those who have been aged out of the system. We might have somebody who was aged out a year or 2 years ago but doesn't have a skill set, and so we want to help them as well.
Yeah.
Definitely, that's huge, guys. And, like you said, churches, want to do, but sometimes haven't been able to do that. And, I did a TED Talk my senior year of high school.
Yeah.
Which we're very proud of you doing.
About some of those statistics by the Barna Group, that people are leaving the church, especially youth. And, I brought up, and it's crazy because the main statistic in that was people leaving because of the church.
Oh, yeah.
And that was like, what? That was really eye-opening to me. So I'm like, churches want to bring in, they want to be community. People are leaving because of what's going on with that. And so I'll just dive in here. Just to dive in, how can you guys tackle that?
Well, I don't know that we're gonna tackle that differently than we would tackle any age group. And here's what I mean by that. I think that the reason oftentimes young people are leaving the church is because the church is often every church does really great stuff, and every
Right.
church, including ours, will fail in a lot of areas. But I think that there's a couple of pieces there. I think that if you're just attending and consuming, then it's not really your community. You're not
Right.
planted and invested in the church. If you're not owning, if you're not actually partnering with the thing that the church is doing, then when it stops offering you the things that you have been consuming, or if it's not giving you the thing that you've been asking for, then you'll just leave because you're just kind of consuming. So I think helping young adults, young believers, young people understand that the church is not something to consume from, is something to partner with. But the other piece of that is, if there's not something that they feel passionate about partnering
Right,
with,
they're gonna-
then they go, okay, well, forget it. I'll just go to a nonprofit.
For sure.
Look, that nonprofit has nothing to do with Jesus, but man, they look like Jesus a lot.
Right.
They're feeding people, they're clothing people, they're
Yeah.
giving people skills, they're meeting felt needs.
Definitely.
And so I think if we could do both of those things, while also loving and accepting those who are around them, because they might not often feel like the church is a safe place to bring their lost friends to. And not to say, listen, Jesus spoke truth,
Yeah.
right? He was bold about truth. But man, that wasn't the first thing he was bold about. He was bold about loving people and caring for them. And so it was always acceptance first, and then eventually change came from that. And I think sometimes churches try to change first before they'll accept. And I think that tends to scare people away.
Yeah, definitely. I understand that. I feel that. Also, something I want to talk to you guys about is that when churches are seen in media, you know, I'm in media. I look at the news daily. I run a news blog. I have to know what's going on.
Yeah.
I rarely see the great things that churches are doing. And that stinks. You know, you can see it locally. I've seen local things like, oh, that's wonderful, but on a broader scope, the only thing I've seen, just me, is some of the, you know, how can I say this? Not bad, but just goals not being met that were intended. Do you know what I'm saying?
Sure, yeah.
Yeah. And, you know, people will think one way about the church, or they hate me, they don't accept me, you know, and that's why I want to do this podcast, to shed some light, like this isn't what churches are about, you know.
Yeah, I heard actually a pastor say that the church has a public relations problem. And I think that the reality behind that is, you know, oftentimes when we talk about media and news, good things don't sell a lot, right? Typically,
It's
tragedies,
clickbait,
it's fear,
Scandal.
it's scandal.
They have to make money,
Yeah.
and they got to get those clicks.
Yep. And so I think that would be a piece of that, you know. But I
For
also
sure.
think that another piece is, and we've been guilty of this many times in our ministry, is that we get so inside focused that we forget it's not just about come and see. It's about us going out into the community. And so one of the things that we have talked about doing is, and it's kind of a big push for us, we want to serve the community before we ask the community to come to a service.
For sure.
So we were a part of trying to help Knox with their respite day last week. This week we're partnering with the Alano Club and the recovery community for their
yeah.
Soba What event. And so we want to continue serving the community before we continue asking the community to come to our service. And I think if we can do that, I don't know that changes
Right,
what the
yeah.
church looks like in the media, but I don't think that that's what God has called Molly and I and Rize Church to do. I think what God has called us to do is not change our view in the media or change this. I think He's called us just to love and care for people and introduce them to the love of Jesus and what Jesus actually did for them.
Yeah, for sure. And me, I think big. You know, I want to start things. I want to change things. And what's something I was thinking about before you got here, doing my research, thinking about it. I was like, man, when churches actually go out and do their thing, it's going to show in the media. You guys go out and, you know, you're partnering with Safe Now, Safe House, Al-Anon Club, and when people find out your mission, people aren't like, oh no, like, that helping, you know, act, what? No,
Yeah.
who does, oh no, we hate them. You know, I think that, you know, it's going to change itself.
Yeah, that's
You
great.
know what I'm saying?
We
I think
hope
God
so.
has a plan. I think I think things are, going to change. And I don't think you'd have to necessarily go out and focus on that rather than do what God has called you to do, and it will play itself.
And I think that if we were to just get to a place where we were just, again, we're learning this as Christ followers to be just obedient. There are so many things that we can look and say, man, I wish I could do this, I wish I could do this, but we would say, do for one what you wish you could do for all. Mm-hmm. And so for us, we're just going to focus on the people that God brings, or the people that we come into contact with, the people that we, at the foster closet, or with Safe House, or with the Al-Anon Club, all of those things, the people that God places in front of us, those are the people that we're going to love and care for. Mm-hmm. And then God has a bigger plan. It's God's plan that we get to be a part of. And so I think you're right, Logan. The more we focus on doing those things, going out into the community, Rize Coffee, giving away so much money to this, or Rize Coffee, right. Being able to raise up and care for kids, or Rize Cares, being able to, in the name of Jesus, love and care for those who are really broken. I think that naturally might give, in a sense, start changing the way that people view church, at least in a little area.
Right, definitely, little steps, what I'm saying, because I get a big head myself. I'm constantly thinking, I'm going to change media forever. And I started a news blog because I got to take small steps. I can't just go out and do that.
Great.
And, kind of what's, I know you're planning your services, about to launch in March. Mm-hmm. So what's that step right now for you guys, kind of that small step? What's tomorrow? Or...
Yeah, I think that's a great question. What we're worried about right now, Logan. I'd say small step would be continuing to recruit and train up leaders, because it's not about us. It's about Jesus and what Jesus can do through all of us. And living together, moving together, growing together is better together. And so we want to do that, but we also just want to sit and meet with people that might be interested and, checking out Rize. Maybe they have questions.
Maybe, people who don't believe, and just be like, hey, we're just...
We those conversations don't scare us. We love them. We love just sitting with people, hearing their hearts, answering questions, some that we have answers to, some that we definitely don't have answers to.
And we just prefer to do it around coffee because we really like coffee.
Food
or food and coffee, basically. You should come to Rize if you like those things.
I didn't even used to be a big coffee drinker. Then college hit, and
it's necessity.
It's necessity, yes.
Coffee's huge. Food's huge to just bring people together.
And I'd say besides the people part, we are still raising funds, and so I think those are things that we're, everything, an orphanage or a recovery center, all of those things take funds to do, and so does the church that's going to do some of those things, and so we're continually raising funds. We are a nonprofit, and so I'd say that those that we're going to keep our eye on, the people, and then raising funds.
Yeah, definitely. For the listeners out there, if you guys are interested, you want to help fund Rize Church, as you heard, they have a big goal. They want to, most importantly, they just want to go out and love people. You guys have a website?
Rize.church is where you can go check some information out. You can fill out some your name and some things, and somebody will get back to you.
And very easy to give right there. There's a give button. It's a tax deduction, so you get something at the end of the year. You can give a one-time small or big gift, or you can even make it on automatic regular giving as well. Rize.church.
And
Rize.church.
Rize is spelled RHIZA.
RHIZA, not to be confused with the RZA from Wu-Tang.
I gotcha. So if you guys interested, websites all right there. They're making it real easy for you guys to go and donate. And you'll be able to see this podcast and video at theperksofnews.com. And Instagram and Facebook as well. Do you guys have Facebook? I know you have Instagram as well.
Yeah, we have Instagram, we have Facebook. And I would just say this, listen, before you just go on there and give, and that's really not our main objective. We would love to sit with anyone in the Ann Arbor, Ypsi area that just wanted to talk and ask questions. And listen, we could even totally disagree, and we would just be like, oh, that's okay, we love you anyway.
Right.
And
so people are gonna disagree. You don't have to, fight them.
Absolutely, absolutely. And this December 18th, we have a meetup at Cultivate from 7 to 9. Yeah. Cultivate in Ypsi, and we're just going to be there hanging out.
You can meet some of the Rize fam and ask questions or just hang out. We'll be playing some games and be some holiday foods and stuff there.
Sweet. Do you guys have any contact information? If anyone wanted to contact you, have questions about Rize?
Sure. It's info@rize.church. Info@rize.church, or they can DM the Instagram, which is Rize at Rize Church, or Facebook at Rize Church.
So cool. That's there right there for you guys if you have any questions and want to contact or just want to hang out.
Yeah, let us know. We would love it. Yeah.
For sure. Cool. So, love you guys.
Thank
you for coming.
Thank you.
I'm really excited for Rize Church. I went to 242 Church for longest, but I think I'm gonna go check out Rize.
All right,
we love it.
You just gotta bring 10 friends.
Oh yeah, the quota. It's a joke. Just playing.
Thank you, Logan. Love
you, man.
Thank you.
We love you. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, you guys have a great day. Thanks. And yeah, like I said, you guys will see this at theperksandnews.com. And yeah, this is episode 2 of Let's Talk.
Awesome. Thanks, hon.
Awesome.